we're kicking off a brand new 2 parts where we're talking about what's next. And some of you, maybe you saw my email and that stirred some conversation. You like, I wonder what is next. Maybe you're just literally morbidly curious about what's next. Some of you are in a season of yourself about what's next. I don't need to see a show of hands, but I've had lunches and coffees and talked to so many of you that you're literally currently in a season of what next. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for your family? So many I've talked to you, you've moved to Gainesville and you're asking, what's next? What's next for your family? For us and our family, I introduced you to them earlier, we have a brand new middle schooler. Man, friends, what's raising kids that are in middle school, that's a whole season of what's next. Like, she has a phone now. That's like a whole, anybody else in the new phone game with your kids? No, just me. That's perfect. You guys don't use phones anyway, so that's great. What's next for me? I'm asking that question like crazy these days. We've been through a season around here. I moved my family down. We're originally from the Indianapolis area. I moved down more than 3 years ago. And we launched into a global pandemic, which was an absolute treat. That's the best thing for you when you move your family across the entire country and start a new role. Let's just shut it all down. That's awesome. That's good times for everybody. But that leads us into a season of now we're kind of through some of that season, and we're asking what's next around here and what's next for us as an organization. And here's what is true for what's next. Every time you start asking what's next, you start asking what if, right? The what if monsters come, we like to call it. And those what ifs, friends, those what ifs can be scary, can't they? When our kids were younger, we had this book. Look at this book. It's called The What If Monster. How scary is that? They actually had a stuffed animal that you could hold. So when our kids were little and they were in a season that they were asking questions or nervous about something, we'd pull the book out and be like, let's talk about the what if monster, right? But you guys know what that is. You guys know what the what if monster is. Some of you have so many what if monsters you can hardly even think anything else that I'm saying because that's the season you're in, is you're in a season of what ifs. What if this doesn't happen? What if, let me just be a little blunt with some of you dudes, what if she says no? What if she says yes? Then there's a whole nother thing. What if this move that you just made isn't the move you should have made? What if you missed it? What if you made the wrong decision? What if anybody else feeling anxious together? That's the what if monster. It's scary. It makes you feel anxious. But it's because of the truth we all know that what ifs always come with what's next. Anytime you start asking them, the what if monster is going to come. And so today, here's what I want to do. I want to look at some scripture together, and we're going to talk a little bit about where to find the courage that we need to step into a season of what's next. And then I, spoiler alert, would love to tell you and invite you into the next season here at Anthem. So that's what we're going to do. But we're going to start with looking at this guy. His name is Joshua, not the coat Joshua you might have heard of. Joshua that's with Moses. Maybe the visual will help you. This is from the classic movie, The 10 Commandments. Everyone hopefully has seen that. You guys know this dude. That's Charlton Heston. Anybody know this is Joshua, by the way? Avert your eyes. That's Joshua, by the way. Does anybody know who played Joshua? He gets no love whatsoever. His name is John Derrick, by the way, and he starred right alongside Moses. We better take that picture off. Let's put up this first passage. But let me set the scene for you. Is Moses, you guys have probably, if you haven't grown up in church, you've heard of this guy Moses. He led the people out of Israel, let my people go, you know that part. The Red Sea, he parts the Red Sea, all this stuff. The 10 Commandments, he goes up on the mount, has the 10 Commandments, comes down on the 10 Commandments, and then some time passes, and what happens is Moses passes away, and Joshua is next in command. So Moses never actually sees the fruition of God's people moving into the promised land. The baton gets handed to Joshua. So we pick up the story right here. Let me read it for us. If you want to pull up a Bible, Joshua 1, that's where we're going to start. Here we go. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give them to the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give to them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So here's Joshua standing on the edge of what's next. Moses, the great Moses. Can you feel the tension in it? Like, Moses is the dude, right? Just like the fact you didn't even know who the guy was in that 10 Commandments movie. He's Charlton Heston. He's the man. And this is where Joshua's at in life, is Moses is gone. Now you're up. God looks at Joshua and says, you're next. You're what's up. You're going to finish this thing. And here's what he says to Joshua. If you caught it 3 times in the same passage, he says, be strong and courageous. Remember, be strong and courageous. Remember, be strong and courageous. Any parents in the house? You feel like that is on repeat at your house. Like, I'll tell you 3 times so that you can hear it and maybe listen to me once. For me, I remember one of the best movies ever. I don't know why it didn't win in awards, but the movie Rush Hour. Any Rush Hour fans in the house? Listen, here's what it made me think of. Maybe it made you think of. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? That's what God is saying to Joshua. Don't you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Be strong and courageous. But maybe you think the same thing I think sometimes when I hear these things. Like, that's great. It kind of feels like a bumper sticker a little bit, like a hard, scary thing, a big, scary what-if monster. And you're like, come on. Just be strong and courageous. You got this. Just be strong and courageous. It's not helpful, because the question we ask is this one: where do I get the courage? Like, I understand that I should be strong and I should be courageous, but where does the courage come from? Like, how do I get the courage to step in to what's next? Because just like you guys, I often, when I'm in a what next season, here's where I go. I go to certainty and control. Those are the kind of decisions I make. Certainty tells us, like, the thing that we can be certain of, right? Like, you're going to make a decision based on being certain about the outcome. Or control, you base a decision based on being in control of the outcome. But here's what we know about life, all of us do. We come across decisions that are so much bigger than certainty or control. There is no certainty to be found in some what-if scenarios. There is no control that can be found in some what-next scenarios. So sometimes we have the danger of leaning our life, leaning our decision-making, leaning our future plans on certainty and control, and then what happens? It doesn't work. And because we're reminded we actually don't have any certainty and control of pretty much anything, right? You may be like me. You might move your family across the country, think you're going to start at a church and get to know people and just be able to have coffees with people, and then the literal whole world shuts down. Like, friends, you probably don't have as much certainty and control that you think you do. And so, good thing for us is that God tells Joshua where to find the courage. And here it is in verse 9. Have I not commanded you? Remember, do you not hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Because here is the source of courage. Courage isn't knowing what. Courage is knowing who. For me, I introduced you to my crew. I love being a dad. It's the greatest single joy of my life. Seeing, you parents in the room know this, like when you see your kids making choices that you're proud of, it's like an amazing thing. there's also this thing when some of you have little kids, there's this precarious time of night where it's the best part of being a parent and maybe the worst part of being a parent, and it's bedtime, friends. Because listen, sometimes you can have the best intentions and get yourself into a scenario man, when my kids were little, we had this specifically choreographed routine of all these things that happened that we put them on a plan. Some of you, I can see you nodding your head. Some of you are literally living this. And if one thing goes off kilter, if she doesn't have the right book at the right time, or the bath gets out of order, or if your life, I don't know, you have one. So you go to a restaurant late and things just get off, the whole thing crumbles. It just all crumbles. Because you're really living by a thread is what you're doing when you're parenting. But man, we got into this season with my kids where we were having this bedtime routine and all these things had to be in order. And we just got into the season where for them to go to sleep, we had to be in the room. I'm probably the only person that this happened to. They were too scared. They just wanted me to stay, which is super cute. And now if they did it, it'd be weird. But then I was just mad about it because I didn't want to do it. And I'm I got stuff to do. I haven't been able to play any of my video games, and I haven't been able to watch any of my shows because I'm dealing with you guys. I got stuff to do. And the 2 hours you have to yourself at night after bedtime, some of you, this is your anxiety, right? Yeah. So we had this scenario where I'm trying to get the kids to sleep, and you think they're asleep, I'm sitting, and then you kind of do one of these things out the, you know what I'm talking about? And then the floor creaks and you're oh, it's over. And she's leaving. But the crazy thing about that is that's real life. Because for Hattie, my daughter, in that season, who was in the room made all the difference to her. It didn't change any of her circumstances. It changed that I was in the room. It was still dark. The nightlight was still where the nightlight. We did the routine. She had the shower the same way. It was still time for bed, but me being in the room changed everything. And that's what God is telling Joshua, and that is what God is telling you, and God is telling me. Who is in the room makes all the difference. Because, friends, courage isn't knowing what. It is not certainty and control. It is not the things in your power. It is who. Courage isn't knowing what, it's knowing who. And some of you, I can just stop there. That's helpful for you because you're standing in a season of what's next, asking all these decisions that you have on the other side. And you don't know which way to go, and you don't know what it's going to look like, and all the what-if monsters are coming. And friends, you need to know this. Courage comes from knowing who, not from knowing what. Courage comes from who is in the room. Well, for all of us, we're standing in this season. I'm standing here, and our church is standing ready to step into a what's next kind of season. We've been through a literal global pandemic, a lead pastor change, and here we all are. Hilariously, Chad Clemens, who is the founding pastor at Anthem, when we first transitioned way back, it feels like 10 lifetimes ago at this point. Way back at the beginning, end of 2019, beginning of 2020, we were in conversations man, we're crushing this thing. This is unbelievable. We're doing such a good job with this transition. We'll probably be we should write a book or something. This is unbelievable. And literally 2 months later, the entire world collapses. You can't make that stuff up. But what I'm so excited about all of us stepping into is asking the question, what's next for all of us together? This incredibly beautiful thing that God set up and God designed and God started. We're here at a season just like God looked at Joshua and said, you're up, you're next. God looks at us and is okay, you're up, you're next. And the courage comes with knowing who's in the room. So for those of you, maybe it's your first time, maybe you didn't even know churches had mission statements. Most organizations have a mission statement. This has been Anthem's mission statement for as long as Anthem has been an organization. And that's this: leading people into a growing relationship with Jesus. And before we press any further, I just wanted to say, so many of you, so probably some of you watching literally right now, you have given your time, your energy, your resources, resource, your talent, you've stepped into in courageous ways. You've lived this literally out. Because those of you who haven't done a church planting thing, like this thing started with like 0% people, like 0 people. And there was a group of people that were like, we're not okay with people not knowing who Jesus is. And Gainesville doesn't need just another church. It needs a different kind of church to reach people that other churches aren't reaching. And so they met, and they met, and they met, and they raised money, and they did the thing, and North Point was awesome, and Andy was awesome, and all these things started happening, and here we are, fast forwarding all these years, and we're sitting in a building because of the sacrifice and the courage of the people who have come before. And there's so much about this that isn't ever going to change. It is who we are. It is who we are as an organization. But I think in the same way, God was looking at Joshua and saying, okay, you're up. What's next? Let's step into it. And God, fast forward into the New Testament, Jesus was walking with his disciples, and then Jesus was leaving back up to heaven, and he's looking at his dudes going, okay, guys, you're up. You're next. I'll be with you, but you're next. And in that same way, God looks at us in this season and says, okay, guys, you're next. You're up. It's time. Because I don't think there's ever been a time like now that the local church needs to step in and be the hope of the world. Because what's next is right now. Because, friends, you know this, right? You watch the news. Maybe some of you have tapped out on the news and you don't anymore. But you watch the news. You see what's going on in our world. You see what's happening. Like right now is the time for the church to be the church, for people of God to be the people of God. And so I am so excited because of what this means, and I'm going to unpack it. Here's our new mission statement as an organization, and that's this: to inspire people to follow Jesus. And I'll tell you why I think this is great news for you specifically, is that because Jesus, sometimes we can get a little foggy in this, but Jesus didn't give the church, like see my quotes, he didn't give the church a mission. He gave you a mission. Like if you're a follower of Jesus, if you decided I'm going to walk in the way of Jesus, I've said yes to him, he gave you a mission. You're the church. He didn't give the church a mission, right? He gave you one. And that's what we're going to step in together. And that's why I love some of the words that have been chosen in this mission statement that make it so much more tangible and helpful for all of us. So here, I want to unpack a couple of the words that I think are very significant. Here's the first one: inspiring people. Inspire means to affect, to draw out. And that's what we do together, to influence. It means to live a life that's significant, that invites people, that invites questions. And that's what we try to create around here, is environments that are inspiring to people. And we're going to keep on doing that. To me, it's the definition of what it means to be for someone, to inspire them to follow Jesus. Here's the next word I want to bring out that might start to get a little ouchy for everybody, so just fair warning. People. You didn't expect that to be ouchy, did you? But here's why it's ouchy, because this means all people. These people. Go ahead. Don't be scared. Yes. Those people. Should we do shows of hands? No, we shouldn't. Those people. You got that? How about these people? Libertarians? Anyway, pause there, because my favorite libertarian of all time is the one and only Mr. Ron Swanson. Any Parks and Rec fans in the house? He defines epicness. Okay, moving on. It means these people. It also means these people. It also means those people, some of those people. It also means some of these people. Is it feeling bad yet? It also means some of, okay, wrong. It means that people nothing like Jesus. And see how I handily put that after that list of people? Because those are people nothing like Jesus. Fake out. I love you, Derek. That's not true. Maybe it is. I don't know. We'll move on. Friends, people nothing like Jesus love to be around him. And I think we could be honest to say the church has lost some of that. I just read a statistic that 1.2 million young people this past year left attending church, And in a survey, here's the reason they said they left, is because they didn't find the person of Jesus compelling. And that's on us. Like if in this climate and in this culture, we didn't make Jesus compelling, man, we've got some stuff messed up. And friends, in this season, in this political season that we just went through, in the one that's coming, that's probably going to be even crazier yet because the whole thing just keeps spinning up. We could be people that were different. We could be people that were for people. Whether you're a church person or you're not a church person, you've never been to a church person, you're definitely 100% not a church person, you're a Republican, it doesn't matter how you vote, you're a Democrat, you're a Libertarian, you're just in the vein of Ron Swanson. You just do what you want and you don't care. All of those people, those are people that God loves, that Jesus died for. And those are people we're going to be for, right? We're going to be for them. Because these next two words, everything hinges on this for us. And that's follow Jesus. You guys, I'm a church kid. I have been at church since I was in my mom's belly. I've been at church. I'm like a Wednesday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night church. Like I was in every kind of church. We are church people. And I grew up a large portion of my life thinking this thing was about believing the right stuff. And it's a little sad for me that we've created a culture, a church that allows people to think that if you hold the right set of beliefs, then you're doing the thing. But that's never what Jesus came to do. He didn't come to convince you to believe the right things. He came with an invitation for you to follow him. And there's a big difference between believing the right stuff and following. And there's a big difference. I think there's a lot of people right now that are fans of Jesus, that like parts of Jesus. But friends, he didn't come to get fans. He would have done a whole different thing if he just wanted a whole bunch of fans. He came to invite you, to invite me, and to invite us as a church to invite people to follow him. And we don't need to wonder what following looks like, do we? Because he showed us. That, in fact, is why he came. And it hinges on two things, right? To love God and to love people. And for all of us, loving God, that means there's a seat of authority, a seat of worship in your heart, in your life. And there's someone, something, some object sitting in that seat that is the most significant thing to you. And that's what loving God first means. It means that thing that's most significant to you is God. That's who it is. And loving people, we know what that looks like. Being for people. A lot of times around here we say, what does love require of me? When you're not sure what to say or do, right? Ask, what does love require of you? That Andy Stanley, he's got all the rhyming things. But that's what loving people. Loving people is evidence of our love of God. And those of you who have been around, maybe those of you who have found Jesus and begun following Jesus, maybe you spent your whole life following Jesus, you've experienced the outcome of this mission, haven't you? And we say it like this around here, that following Jesus will make your life better and make you better at life. That's not believing the right things about Jesus. That's following Jesus. You know what happens when you follow Jesus in the way he's designed parenting to work? You're going to be a better parent. You know what happens when you follow Jesus in the way he's designed finances to work? You're going to be better with finances. How about being a spouse? When you submit to one another in the way that Jesus designed this thing to work, you're going to be a better husband. You're going to be a better dad. Friends, it's following Jesus that makes your life better because he changed everything for me. He changed everything for you. And this is true, you guys, for every single person you see. Jesus changes everything for everyone. Every person you see and meet needs to follow Jesus. So here's what we're going to do together. Is we're going to inspire people to follow Jesus. And here's the tagline that I love so much, where you live, work, play, and learn. Because this isn't a mission for those of us who are the professional Christian types, like John and I. When he's not lighting things on fire, he participates in this. Or our staff team, or those of you who volunteer. This is a mission that is for us. It's a moment to say yes to a mission to inspire people to follow Jesus. Because, man, I get the absolute joy from my seat of having so many lunches and conversations, so many conversations. And here's just a thread, just maybe a helpful thread that I've experienced in the last couple years of being around here, is people are tired, people are somewhat bored, they're anxious, they want a new thing. And I think this mission is great news for you, if that's you. Maybe it's not, and your life is great, and it's still great news for you, because every single one of you, you need a mission. I'm sorry your job is hard, and it absolutely, I've talked to some of you, and your work situations are bonkers. But friends, you need a mission. You need a thing that's bigger than the thing you invest your 9 to 5 in. You need a mission. There was a guy, an author, teacher, his name was Donald Miller. He still is. He didn't pass away. I don't know why I said it like that. And I read a book where he said this: if your life was a movie, would you watch it? Would your life be about like, oh, I got the job, I'm making the money, I've got the kids, I go put in my time, I head back, I've got the car payment, and I got the Volvo. I finally got this Volvo that I wanted. Also, don't know why I chose Volvo. That's weird. I don't have a Volvo. But friends, if your life was a movie, would you watch it? And I think that pokes at the thing that's under all of this. And here's my hope, and this is what my hope has been for every single one of us, is that you, friend, would invest your life in something that will outlast your life. It's too short. Life is too short to not do that. And our city, our state, our country needs us to do this. Let me get a little closer to home for some of you who are parents. Your kids need you to do this. Your kids need to see you investing in a mission that's bigger than you. You know what's going to happen in your family when you start stepping into a thing that you're investing your life in something that will outlast your life? Man, you know what that's going to be to your kids? That's going to be inspiring to your kids. And your kids are going to lean in as you step into what it looks like to inspire people to follow Jesus. So let me say a couple things to some specific groups of people. My church people in the house, like the Sunday, Wednesday people. Maybe you're like a church person, and you've maybe slipped into a habit of coming once every 8 weeks or so. I see you. What if in this season, what if in this moment, you decided to take the mission of the church seriously? What if you leveraged your best hours to inspire people to follow Jesus in the same way that Jesus invited his followers to do that? What if you did that? So many of you, you've experienced what environments like are around here. Anthem has literally changed your life. And maybe it's time for you to move from a consumer of these environments to a guide for others as they step into these environments. Let me talk to another group of people. The not sure yet, if you're Anthem church people, ... because maybe there's some weird stuff around here that's not like other churches kind of people. And let me just say, come on. Watch what happens when you invest your life in something that will outlast your life. Watch what happens when you step into the front line of doing ministry for people who don't like church. Watch what happens when you rub against those things that maybe you felt are like church sacred things, and watch what happens when you're just like, you know what, I'm going to be on mission together. Watch what happens in your kids and in your families as you join and come on and be on mission with us. And then the last group of people, church people are strange and I don't know why I'm here people. Those people, man, I'm so glad you're here. Friends, since the beginning of Anthem, we've decided, just like I said earlier, Gainesville does not need more churches. It needs churches to reach the people who don't like church people. It needs churches to make decisions to do things a little different for people who aren't here yet. It needs a church to say yes to your coworkers. It needs a church to say yes to people that you know at the ball fields that have had terrible experiences with churches. that aren't walking into another church, but maybe, just maybe, this crazy video church could do something different enough that you could leverage to inspire people to follow Jesus. And if you're that person that's on the fence about this whole Jesus thing, let me just ask you a couple what ifs that might feel like what if monsters to you. Here's the first one. What if Jesus is really who he said he is? What if? Like, what if following him really changed your life? What if? What if you actually could have more meaning in your life by investing in something that will outlast your life? What if your marriage got better? What if you became a better spouse, a better husband, a better father? Friends, invest your life in something that will outlast your life. Because this is true, you guys. People don't need a new politician elected in office. People need a savior. And here's what I want to ask you, is that who is counting on you to inspire them to follow Jesus? Because I don't know if you've ever thought about this. I'm here because of an invitation. You're probably here because of an invitation. Something's on the other side of an invitation, of a moment where you decide to inspire people to follow Jesus. Something's on the other side of that. Because friends, there's one name that's worth investing your life in. There's one person that stole the keys to death. There's one name that is the hope for every single person that you come across. There's one person, and his name is Jesus. And he is the hope of the world. He's the hope for me, for you, for our families, for our neighbors and our friends. He is the hope. And there's never been a time in history, maybe more than now, that the local church, because of that the local church is the hope of the world. So come on. I just hope every single one of you would walk out of these doors, would in this moment be like, you know what? I'm in to inspire people to follow Jesus. I'm in. I'm going to leverage the best of my time to inspire people to follow Jesus. So the band's going to come out. We're going to do a song here at the end. I specifically asked them to do this song, one, because it's an awesome song. And two, man, it just encompasses in music. Just like what John said earlier, sometimes something happens in music that can put words and language to things that like just words don't. But I wanted to tell you about this song real quick. It has a super churchy word in it. And it's revival is the word. Look at that word. Some of you that have been around churches are like, gave you the shivers a little bit to see that word. But friends, you know what to revive means? It means this: to return to life and to flourish again. And knowing that we're going to end here together in our time, I've been praying that. And yeah, in a churchy way, I've been praying for revival. That's what that means. I've been praying that people would flourish again, that they would come to life again, because true life and real life, the way you were made, the way your neighbor was made, the way every person in our city was made, was to find life in Jesus. And that's what we're going to sing. That's what we're going to step into in the future, praying, friends, is that revival would happen. That God, in his infinite glory and wisdom, would send you. And he'd send me into our neighborhoods, into our cities, and he'd light them up. He'd light them up with the hope and the light of Jesus. And that's what we're going to sing together. And worship is our response to who God is, to what he's done, and what we believe he's going to do. So that's what we're going to do together. We're going to sing together. We're going to respond together. So I want you guys to stand up, and I'm going to pray for us as the band leads us. Would you guys pray with me? God, we're so thankful for who you are. Thankful for what you have done for us. God, help us to be people that see you and see what you've done. And God, help us to step into the cities and into the dark places, into our neighborhoods, into houses, into the places where we live and we work and we play and we learn. God, help us to inspire people to follow you. It's the one thing that we can invest our life in that will outlast our life. So God, as we sing this song, God, let it be so. Cement something in our hearts that is true, that is real, that is you. And God, as we sing this song, we believe it into the future. And it's in your Son's name we pray. Everyone said, amen.